To the unrelenting voice in my head that will never allow me to stop.
Okay. The unrelenting voice that we all have. What happens to that voice? I'm going to answer your question. We all have a voice in our head. Some of us are very spiritual, some of us are not, but we all have this voice and you're doing fucked up shit. This is wrong. Don't do that. The more you don't listen to that voice, the further that voice gets away from your head. Some people call it the Holy Spirit, some people call it God, some monks, whatever you call it. It's there. We all have it. It's the right or wrong voice. But the more we don't listen to it, the more that voice goes away. And the only voice you hear is yourself. When the only voice you hear is yourself, you're wrong. There's a voice that guides you through life. When sometimes it's guiding you in a direction that you don't want to go, that's usually the right place to go. It's that uncomfortable place. So that voice is always talking to me, but we don't listen to it. I listen to it. And when I start getting anxious, nervous, like we all know when we've done too much because it's telling us, I'm getting tired, I'm wearing down. But we go. I start talking to my fiance, hey, I'm doing too much. You start now, like I did in Hell Week, like I do all the time, the 1 second decision. It's that decision when your mind starts to get so amped up, whenever you can't hear yourself think, you gotta slow down. Whenever you're living off a schedule, every day's a schedule, you have no time for yourself. When you start, and we all know it, I don't have time for this anymore, I don't have time for that anymore. That's when your mind and your body are saying, think about that. I'm neglecting my fiance, I'm neglecting my disciplines of life, I'm neglecting my reading, my learning, my workouts, my diet. When you start neglecting all of that, you neglect one of them, you can neglect all of them a long time. It's going to haunt you. When you start seeing that, my God, I haven't eaten right in a long time, haven't been sleeping right in a long time, it can only be one of those things to take you off. So I'm very aware of my eating, my sleeping, my disciplines of life. And when I start to get too far away from them, it's a hard stop. Because what made me are the not just disciplines, the self-disciplines of life. And those are always in front of you. If you have any, they're always in front of you. So that's my hard stop. So those voices are very important. They can guide you. And that's the thing about it. Like I said, the mind's the most powerful weapon in the world.
Yeah.
It can guide you to being very comfortable also.
Yeah.
So you gotta be careful. The mind will trick you.
Yeah.
And it's saying, just sleep in today, you deserve it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't deserve it. So there's that fine line of the mind getting the tactical advantage over you to where you're like, I've worked too hard.
Yeah.
You really haven't worked hard enough. We are 40, 50, 60 still throwing that tantrum we once did at 7 and 8 years old. So people think with age is growth. No, it's not. You have to go back into the scarring to get the growth. And what's funny about that, I often say it, on the other side of that extreme place that I call suffering, call whatever you want, there's a whole nother world that people have not even examined. But you have to go to that extreme place to examine it. We want to stay here in this comfortable place. Once you're willing to push yourself to that extreme place, it's like a whole nother universe. It's almost like you're an astronaut and you've examined something like up in outer space. No, it's always been there. But you have to be going through all the muck and all the shit to examine it. You realize, wow, God, through all this crap, there's a whole nother universe over here in my mind.
Yeah.
Whole nother universe. Because what we do so well in this world is we see superhuman people and we title them. The second we title them, what that does, that gives us a get out of jail free card, is that they're the 1%ers. I'm not even going to try to do that because that's not even in me. God made them special. They're special people. There are no special people. They're special minds, and the mind can be created on your own. You can do that yourself. So that's why I write the book like I write it, so people can look at me and say, my God, he came from this. He had to overcome all of this. So I take away all the titles, even crazy, even the fact that he's superhuman. All those titles are now stripped away. But what's funny about that, you will have my book in your hand. You will read it in its entirety. You will hear the audio book, whatever you get. And by the time you get to chapter 9 or 10, you already forgot chapter 1, 2, and 3 of the hell I came through. That's how fast the mind wants to soften you up and say, this guy's just nuts. He's superhuman. That's how fast the mind, you already forgot what you read. And you love the book. You're loving the book. And you already forgot the first 3 chapters because your mind is saying, this is impossible. It's already guiding you down that path of least resistance as you're reading the book. That's how powerful it is. So we got to constantly remind ourselves of, go back to chapter 1, 2, and 3. Always remind yourself of those chapters, of that you can also do this. But you have to first self-examine or live autopsy your own personal life. I do it all the time when I speak to people. I tons of speaking gigs. And I break my life down. And by the time I leave, my God, I'm like, you didn't hear the first 30 minutes of my story, did you?
Yeah.
No, I heard it, man. I'm like, but you forgot it already. The mind's already tricking you. I didn't receive any advice. And that's the thing about it. When I grew up, I just didn't receive any advice. My family was in such turmoil that the best advice I received is from myself. And that has to be to study yourself, all the bad, because the good's already there. You need to study that. Study the bad stuff about yourself and learn from that and grow. I was very blessed to not have that. And and that's how I looked at my life too, not to get off the 5 questions, but I looked at my life in a way that I was able to find so much strength in negativity. I was able to flip it upside down versus me thinking, woe is me, my life sucks. I was able to say, my God put me in the perfect training ground to study myself, to become a straight up, scientist of my mind. Oh, there's tons of things.
Yeah.
Everything I talk about, I was afraid of jumping out of airplanes, afraid of cold water, afraid of myself. So there's so many things that can hurt me, but the biggest thing that can hurt me is myself. Is allowing my mind to get away from the reality. We build a false reality in our minds. The real reality is the one thing that can, the false reality is the one thing that can hurt you.
Yeah.
The real reality is the one thing you can help and fix yourself. I'm a big introvert. So this is very uncomfortable for me. Even though I'm comfortable with you, I know there's a lot of eyeballs on me right now. So it's very uncomfortable for me. I used to stutter real bad. So it's trying to be in a spot where I am in that monk-like mentality everywhere I go, and not allow the past demons of even I'm successful now. But you still have those moments where you go back and your mind's like, remember when you were 6 years old and you stuttered profusely at this play and you were so, it's those things that come back to you all the time. So that's what it is. Every day I tell myself, I used to believe I was the weakest man that God ever created. So now I believe that I'm the hardest human being that God ever made. I don't care if it's true or not. It's the most important conversation to me. It's the thing that drives me every day. It's the one thing that keeps me going every day, is that you must constantly be that man that you want to be. My purpose right now is to continue. I used to have a wash rag when I did this. And you know how you take a shower, you have a wash rag and a cloth, and you're sitting there and you're just lathering up, and before you hang your rag up, you want to get all the water to come on it and get it all the suds out of it. You want to wring it out and you want to hang it up. So my big thing is, when I live my life, I want to make sure that when I'm dead and gone, that I wring that wash rag out, and that wash rag is my soul. And I also believe that we're going to end up one day meeting a maker, if you believe in one. And I believe that maker knows everything about you. Everything about you. Knows I was going to be here and talking to you. Knows everything. But you also have a choice to make. You have a choice to make. We have choices. And the one thing that scares me to death in my life is getting to heaven and not being what I was supposed to be. And I believe that God has a chart, and he looks at the chart and he puts it in front of you when you get to heaven. He says, hey, this is what you're supposed to be. And one of my biggest fears in life was to see that chart and not have every block checked off. I want to make sure that I'm constantly pursuing whatever it is I'm pursuing, just to be the best. Just constantly grinding myself into a fine powder, but doing it in a smart way. Like I talked about, you can constantly grind yourself into a point where you're just sick. There's a happy medium of grinding. So that's my purpose now, to continue to push myself so others can see what is possible.
That's beautiful, man. Everyone, that is David Goggins' new book. It is out. Can't Hurt Me. Master Your Mind and Defy the Odds. Go get it. If you love this conversation, it was literally just the tip of the iceberg. We just got into, I'm going to say 1% of the book. There is
Yes.
so much more in here. personal stories, accounts. And the best thing is that there's challenges at the end of every chapter where there are practical tools and tips that you can actually do at home with your friends, people that you're reading the book with. I think it's such a powerful book in the way that it's written, in the way that David is so vulnerable, so open, hoping that you're going to go there yourself as well. I hope you're going to go there. David, thank you so much.
Appreciate
I'm genuinely so grateful, man, to meet you.
Thank you.
And the fact that you turned up on this podcast and shared in an incredible way, man. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you, man.